Hello and welcome to a review of this particular tent, which is called the Tarptent Notch Li. I've had a number of private messages from people who've watched my videos of me in the Carneddau and recently on the Dales Highway, asking for information about the tent that I'm using because people haven't seen this particular tent and want to know more about it. So I thought I would do a review of this particular tent to give people information about it and to explain where I've got it from and why I've bought it. I've owned this tent now for nearly 12 months and I bought it for two reasons. One, because of the weight saving that this tent gives me with regards to my previous tent, and secondly because it deals with condensation and wet weather far better than my previous tent, which was a Vaude Power Lizard. So in my previous tent, the Vaude Power Lizard, which I used extensively over a number of years, I was always frustrated that the sill nylon outer used to sag either when it was a cold night and it absorbed water, or when it was raining and it absorbed water. And the outer and one particular part of the tent always used to sag and then start touching the inner, which then in turn became wet as a result of that outer touching the inner. And on occasions that leaked into the tent where I was sleeping. So I was getting increasingly frustrated by that. I started to look on the market to see what improvements I could, what I could buy to improve my experience when I'm camping. This tent comes from America. It's made of a material called Cuban fibre. And Cuban fibre, unlike sill nylon, does not absorb any water. So when this tent is up, when it's raining, it remains extremely taut simply because it doesn't absorb the water. So that's the big advantage. And the other advantage is regarding weight. This tent is advertised at 605 grams, and that's for this particular configuration with the half solid stroke mesh inner. If you were to buy the full mesh inner, I believe it's slightly lighter, but I may be wrong on that. But I've gone for this solid stroke mesh configuration. So 605 grams. However, I would add that that's with 4 pegs to put the tent up, and I've made some adjustments to this particular tent to ensure that it's stable in wind, and I've got extra pegs as a result, and consequently with the extra pegs and guy lines which I've added to this tent, my weight is 727 grams, which is a significant increase over the 605, but far less than the weight that I had on the Power Lizard, which was roughly 1.2 kilograms. So what do I like about this tent? It's a one-person tent, so the first thing that you have to get used to is that it doesn't have the space that I was used to with the Vaude Power Lizard, but no, I'm getting used to it. I've used this tent for over 20 nights now, and the big advantage for me is I'm 6'4", I'm quite a tall lad, and I was concerned that this tent wouldn't work for me, but all the reviews that I saw online indicated that it was long enough, and actually it's got a 7'5" long inner. But importantly, at the end, the inner cuts away so that it's very unlikely that when I lift my feet in the night, my feet will touch the inner, which in turn would then touch the outer, because there's considerable space between the inner and the outer. But the way it's designed within this tent really does mean that it's a very comfortable length for me. So, I've seen concerns other tall people might have about this tent. Don't worry about the length. If you're 6'4" or less, you'll have no problems with this tent at all. So that's the first thing I like about it. Second thing I like about it, it's a double entrance tent. There's 2 entrances, and there are also 2 huge vestibules. So when I am using it, I tend to store my rucksack in one vestibule, and then all my other equipment goes onto the other side of the tent. Also, because you've got the way it's configured with two doors, depending on which way the wind blowing, you can set yourself up for cooking on the opposite side from the wind, so you can always avoid wind and be comfortable when cooking if you do need to cook within the vestibule of your tent as well. So I quite like that. I quite like the fact that the tent is extremely ventilated. So I've got these trekking poles set at 110 centimetres at the moment, but if it was really foul weather or driving rain, for example, I could lower these to 100 centimetres and bring the outer much lower to the ground. But the way I've got it configured at the moment, plus with the ventilation panels at either end open during a slight breeze, I very rarely have any condensation issues at all with this tent. Another thing I like about the Cuban fibre is if I were to have condensation, it's just a quick wipe down with a cloth and it's dry. So it's really straightforward to keep dry, and when packing away, the inner and the outer go together, so it goes up very quickly. And I can put this tent up in about 3 to 5 minutes at the moment. That's how easy it is to pitch. What else do I like about it? Talking about it sheds the wind really well. So I was on the Dales Highway recently, had some gusty winds on one particular night. This tent had no problems at all with the wind. It coped very easily. This evening I've come down from the main ridge on the Black Mountains. I don't particularly want to be up there this evening because the wind is forecast in Hay-on-Wye to get up to 26-mile-an-hour gusts. I suspect that will be a little bit worse on the ridge, so I've come down into a small valley with a stream, and I'll be far more sheltered here than I would be on the top. But on the Dales Highway, where the winds were probably gusting up to 30 miles an hour, I had no problems at all with this tent. What I like the way that I've got this solid inner with this particular tent, plus the mesh. It does give me some privacy. The Cuban fibre is rather thin, and in sunny weather you could argue is almost see-through. Not quite transparent, but it's not as opaque as you'd like it at times. But with this solid inner, there are no issues at all for privacy. And what I do like about the mesh is that if I'm sat up inside the tent, I get a great view on either side of the tent. So for that reason, I rather like that as well. Another thing that I like is I like the magnets on the outer to roll the door back. I've never seen this before, and so consequently that's a really good feature to have on the tent. So when your hands are cold or you're wearing gloves, you can literally roll the outer door up and just clip the magnetic hold into place, and it keeps the door in place perfectly, and it hasn't come undone in the time I've owned this tent. So that's a really good feature. So yeah, really good. Things I'm not so keen on, which I'm still living to learn with. The pockets on the inside of this tent are absolutely hopeless. Why Tarptent haven't done a U-shaped pocket, I don't really understand. They're a sideways pocket, as you'll see, and you can barely get anything in them. And during the night, I often put things in and they fall out and they're on the floor during the night. So that's not very good. And the other thing, of course, is the price. I had to think twice about buying this tent, but I did look at it as a very long-term investment, something that saved me a lot of money over the years with the number of wild camps that I do. This tent retails at $619, and you can only buy it from America. You can't buy it in the UK. They've got a current deal on the moment, as I understand it, for buying this tent with this configuration for $569. But you've got to add to that a shipping cost of, and I paid $49, which is the flat rate shipping. But if you want to get it within 6 to 10 days, you've got to pay $86. Now, as it happens, my tent arrived about 12 days after I ordered it, so it was a really good turnaround from Tarptent, so I was really impressed with that. But on top of that, then you've got to pay your customs importation fees as well, and I think that was about £70 odd. So all in all, when I bought it with the exchange rate and the import fees and the postage, it came to £600 or thereabouts. So quite a hefty fee, bearing in mind that you can get good quality tents for the UK market from from a number of reputable tent makers in the UK and the continent. So I am the first to accept that it is a pricey old tent for what it is, but the advantages for me are the weight saving on my back. I'm saving myself a significant number of grams by carrying this tent, and the advantages for me outweigh the disadvantages that the tent brings, and I hope to have many more happy backpacking trips with this particular tent. So So that's my review of the Tarptent Notch Li. I'm not going to get as technical as other people. I hope this has been of some use to you, particularly for a tall person and you've been having second thoughts about whether you should buy the tent. But my overall impression is positive, and I just hope to have many great years of use out of it. So thank you for watching this review. I hope it's been useful, and see you next time.